Hello everyone, my name is Chris Stensager and I am the West Coast Regional Systems Engineer here at Watchful Software. And today I'm going to give you a live presentation on our flagship product, and that would be RightsWATCH. This is a product that will get your company's information security policy off the shelf and make it a part of your employees' daily work hygiene. RightsWATCH will not only start protecting your confidential and sensitive information immediately, but will start increasing your employees' awareness of the importance of protecting that information that they work with every single day. Now I first want to give you an overview of the product and talk about how we are going to leverage Microsoft RMS with our solution. I then will talk about our unique features in the market and follow up with a live demo. Now, during the presentation, I'm going to have everybody on mute, and then after the demo, we will have a live Q&A session where you can ask me questions. In the meantime, if you would like to ask me a question, please use the chat box if you have something you would like me to address immediately. So, with that, let's go ahead and get started. RightsWATCH delivers enhanced information protection. So at a bare minimum, we're talking about a solution that protects a company's confidential and sensitive information. So let's think about Sony for a moment. Had Sony Pictures had RightsWATCH deployed in their environment, they would not have had the information security breach that they recently had. Now, a core component of RightsWATCH is Microsoft RMS, and it's easy to think that that would be the end of the solution. Microsoft RMS is what we use to encrypt and provide usage restrictions to data. But in fact, it is one component in a complete solution. RightsWATCH brings to the table data classification. That is something that RMS does not provide. We also provide role-based access control, and all of this together will increase your regulatory compliance and offer comprehensive forensics. Our solution will speed the user adoption of RMS. It'll reduce the deployment time of RMS, and we will increase the use of RMS within your enterprise and help establish a return on your investment in RMS. In the bottom right-hand corner here, we have a quote from Dan Plastina, who is the group manager at RightsWATCH Rights Management. And it just further illustrates, he's saying that the watchful extensions provide several important features for both end users and IT administrators to help speed adoption, facilitate deployment, and protect a wider array of data. And that's effectively what I've been talking about. So it's acknowledged by us, and it's acknowledged by Microsoft. We, with RMS, can provide a complete solution. Now, there are a variety of tools available on the market today, but there are 5 things that make RightsWATCH stand out as a unique solution, starting with this blue piece of the puzzle here. I want to talk about the support for Active Directory RMS, Azure RMS, and Office 365. So obviously, Office 365 is one of the biggest communication tools out there, and we integrate seamlessly with Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And RMS, whether it's in the cloud or on your premises. The next piece of our unique solution I want to talk about is our integrated dynamic classification engine. RightsWATCH is not user reliant. We don't rely on a user to make critical decisions whether or not to classify their data. We take the guesswork out of it, and we do it in workflow Office interface. We don't get in the way of what employees are trying to do to get their job done. Our solution is intuitive, familiar, and this promotes adoption in your organization and decreases the learning curve around your company's information security policy. Next, I'd like to talk about our full BYOD support. As I previously mentioned, our integration with I previously mentioned our integration with Office, but your work doesn't end with these tools. Your employees are doing work on their home PCs, and they're using smartphones to help them get their jobs done. Well, we provide end-to-end security no matter where an email starts where a document starts and where it goes, including iPad, iPhone, Android, Windows, or BlackBerry devices. That is a very comprehensive solution. Lastly, within these 5 items that I'd like to talk about as our unique offerings in the market, a centralized console for reporting and monitoring. We provide you a centralized administration console where you can both administer your policies and check in on them, see how data is being classified and distributed throughout your organization. So think about legal, audit, and compliance, and making that easy to do. If you have a leak, we can provide you the tools to figure out where it started and the tools to stop it. So effectively, however your employees communicate and work within your organization, RightsWATCH addresses your security comprehensively, from PC to a phone to a Mac to a mobile device to SharePoint to mobile device managers. A comprehensive solution end-to-end for your business communication. And now let's get to the exciting part, which is the live demo. So now easily the biggest communication tool within the Office suite is Outlook. So let's go ahead and start there. I'm going to show you an interface that will start protecting your organization and educating your users today. And that is these 6 buttons right below the subject line here. This is my working real Outlook environment. This is not a canned environment. This is not a demo environment. This is the environment that I, as an SE at Watchful Software, use every single day to get my job done. And right here, within these 6 buttons, is effectively my company's information security policy as laid out for me, an SE at Watchful Software. Now, if I were VP of Finance, I would probably need more capabilities, more ways to restrict information and restrict communication. And these 6 buttons could be very different. They could look very different for a person in that role. And likewise, if I were a contractor, these buttons might look very different again. There'd probably be less information that I would have access to and less critical communication that I would need to protect in the role of a contractor in this organization. But let's just continue with this interface, and I'm going to ignore those buttons for now, with the exception of one thing. I want to show you that this is a Watchful public email. Email is classified as the scope Watchful, and the level is public. That's because there's nothing in this email to trigger anything within our information security policy. This is just a plain email. There's nothing in it. But keep an eye on the level buttons, because that's about to change as I go about my regular workflow and write an email to a colleague. Okay, and right there, something changed. It's very obvious. You see the green box that shows up around the border of the email. It happened real time as I was addressing my colleague, another user within my domain. What happened was an information security policy was triggered, and that policy is our better safe than sorry policy. In our company, if we send an email from one employee, one internal user, to another internal user, that email is classified as internal and encrypted. Just a very basic, common sense level of security. No buttons were pressed. This happened real time within my regular workflow. I could just press send and I would be done. But I'm not going to. I'm going to continue with this email, and I'm going to change the policy yet once again. So if you missed it, keep an eye out. I'm going to change it again. Okay. Again, real time, and within my regular workflow, the classification changed. We can tell it changed because the red box came around the email. It went from internal to confidential. And it says in that yellow box, an automatic classification rule was applied as a part of a security policy. Now, this whole solution is highly customizable. It's highly tailorable. And you could have within that yellow box the specific words that triggered the policy. And in this case, what it is this is a watchful, confidential email. And those words, watchful, confidential, triggered this confidential policy to be applied. So now think about this for a second. We could have any expression, any regular expression, any keywords that could be used within the subject line, within the body, to trigger a part of our information security policy and enact a particular classification. So let's say that you have an NDA with a particular company and that you need to guarantee to that company that you have the NDA with that all of their company information will be classified and encrypted. This is the easy way to do it. Every time that company, anytime anybody within your organization works with that company's name, you could have an automatic classification policy triggered. This could also be, say, a medical record number. What we're doing is definitely increasing the user adoption here. Compliance is not optional. So now the big trick with any auto classification policy is, what if you want to change it, right? What if I was talking about a book, Watchful Confidential, and that was actually within quotes, and this is not a classified email at all? Well, how do I change that? It's very easy to, and it's very easy to for me because I have the permission to from our administrative console. This is something you can restrict. This is something you can act. But what I want to make sure you understand is what I'm about to show you, I can do because I have permission to, and that is I'm going to change the classification to internal. All I need to do is press the internal button, and when I do, you can see immediately the send button is grayed out. I no longer have the option to send the email. I'm also presented with a digital disclaimer. This yellow box right here. For compliance purposes, you need to explicitly sign this classification change. I'm going against my company's information security policy, and I have to confirm that I want to do that, take responsibility for doing that with an action that is searchable within our centralized console, our administration database. Again, within this database, you can use for legal, audit, and compliance purposes. So in this case, I am going to take responsibility for the email, for the change, for going against my company's corporate policy, and I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And I'm good to go. I'm going to complete my email and hit send. So now I just pulled that sent email out of my sent box, and I'm showing it to you right now. There's a couple things that I want to show you here. For one, a tagline has been added to the subject line. So basically, the term watchful internal has been added to the subject line. This makes this internal email very, very searchable. The other thing that I want to point out to you is this email has been watermarked by modifying the metadata. So there's a watermark here. Email has been classified as RightsWATCH, WatchWatch internal. This can't be edited. This can't be deleted. This can't be changed. This can say anything you want. It's customizable. It's tailorable to your company's needs. And it's right there. I didn't see it when I was composing the email, but it was attached and to the email, configured within the email after I pressed the send button. Now I want to go back to the composition interface where I'm composing an email in Outlook. And this time I want to manually manipulate these 6 buttons here so I can show you a little bit more about them. Everything I did previously was all in workflow. I didn't involve myself with these buttons. Everything happened automatically. But over time, a user is going to get curious about these buttons. And as they explore these buttons, you can see, because I have the permission to within the admin, I can change these classifications. And as I become curious about these different classifications, I can read about them by clicking more help. Now, this could be something directly out of the pages of your information security policy. This classification is the watchful company, it's the watchful scope, and it's the internal classification. And right here, I can see when I should apply this policy when I should enact this policy to apply to an internal communication for product information, for product follow-up information, for internal PowerPoints, internal policies and procedures. This could be, again, right out of the pages of your information security policy, exactly what you want users to know about that level of classification. Furthermore, as I use RightsWATCH and I'm sending emails, eventually I'm going to run into a situation where maybe somebody can't open my email. And I want to know more about what can people do with an internally classified email that I create. Well, I can figure that out right down here. What does this mean? Here is a matrix where I can see what a watchful internal email privileges are provided to a user of a specific role. So we have a number of different roles in this organization. We have an agent role, mid-management role, read-only role, top management role, worker role. And I can see, so if I were sending this to somebody with a read-only role, they could read the classification, they could read the email, and they could reply, but they couldn't do anything else. And all of that is role-based access control automatically managed for me. If I had a mid-management role, they could do anything. They could read, reply, reclassify, anything they want. The other thing that I think it's worthwhile to point out is that this email will be available to anyone that receives it within my organization for 5 days. After 5 days, if their interface is not re-authenticated with the RightsWATCH server, they won't have access to this email anymore. Somebody takes it on a trip, someone takes the laptop, if the laptop is lost, this email could be accessed for 5 days, and after that, it's completely encrypted and completely secure. As I further investigate these classification levels, the descriptions will change. So for confidential, this is for negotiating position, competitor assessment, product roadmap. If I were a buyer, this might have pricing information within it. Again, customizable to your particular environment. And of course, how people can use this email also changes with the different classifications. To keep this interface clean, these levels will roll up to the particular scopes. And then there's one level above this that you can't see here in this particular deployment, and that would be company. But you can see if I press external, I have a different set of classifications I can apply. I can have it be completely public. I can say do not disclose, which will put a header on this email. I can also select do not forward, which will grab the do not forward template from RMS and apply it to this email that I'm about to send. I could also have a project X in here and a number of different classifications for that. Again, this is tailorable to your specific environment. This product doesn't have to use RMS. So we do have some customers that use us only as a classification tool without usage restrictions, without RMS, without encryption, and RightsWATCH is very effective as a classification tool alone. Furthermore, as a user uses this product, they're going to wonder, why did a particular classification get triggered in one instance and maybe not another instance? Or why did a classification get triggered when I wasn't expecting it to get triggered? And you can look that up by going to RightsWATCH and then automatic classification. And right here, I have the classification rules. Within here, I have two different types of rules. I have policy rules, and I can have custom rules. The policy rules are deployed by the centralized admin. These are corporate policy rules that I can't change, and they're very, very easy to read and learn about how an email is automatically classified as internal. There's no mystery here. All I need to do is click on the rule, and I can see very clearly, apply this classification, watchful internal, to email messages if all these conditions are true. If the recipients contain @watchfulsoftware.com, it doesn't get any easier to understand than that. It doesn't get any more plain than that. We're not talking about a programming syntax. We're not talking about drop-down boxes. This is about as easy as it gets to understand. The other rule that we looked at previously was the confidential rule. Now, previously what I did was I put watchful confidential in the subject line. Now, what you can see here is that it doesn't have to be just the subject line. It could be WSW in the subject line. It could also be WSW confidential in the body of the email, or watchful software confidential in the body of the email. Again, and this is all very easy to understand. These are the corporate rules. I can configure a custom rule, as I previously mentioned, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is the same interface that generates rules for our administrative environment, and therefore I think it's worth looking at. Very, very easy to configure a rule. I am going to create a rule that's going to classify an email as internal, and if any one of these conditions are true. If all of these conditions are true. So there's different ways to do this. I can trigger on a recipient, on somebody in the CC field, on a subject line, on something in the body, to a variety of recipients. I set that right here. So I'm going to say message body. The next thing I have to select is I can have it contain a particular phrase or not contain a particular phrase. It can be an exact expression within the subject line or not, or it can be a regular expression like a format of a medical record number or a social security number that I could put in there. All of this would set up an automatic classification for me as a particular user and would encrypt or classify my emails appropriately. Again, this is the same interface that is found within our administrative console that an administrator can use to create their own custom rules that would apply to their entire corporate environment. So let's look at another element of RightsWATCH. We've spent some time on Outlook, and now let's take a look at Word. So here's my Word environment, and I'm going to start out by just entering some random text here. So this document now has 6 pages of text in it, and what I'm going to do is save this document to my desktop. And once again, this is now classified as watchful public because there's nothing in this document that would trigger anything within our information security policy. So I'm going to cancel out of that. Go back to the document, and now buried somewhere in this text, I am going to put watchful confidential, the keywords that we've previously seen, except for this time it's in a Word document. And now, when I go to save this document on my desktop, it's now watchful confidential. Once again, an automatic classification rule was applied as a part of a security policy. Furthermore, when I go ahead and save this document now, watermarks are now applied. Watchful confidential. Again, this is highly customizable. This can be tailored. You have a watermark across the top, a watermark in the middle, and then there could be a user. There could be the computer that this was generated on. There could be a unique global identifier in this document, the exact number that can be used both in our centralized tracking or database or within a DLP engine to track down this specific document, where it's gone, who's saved it, who's forwarded. All of that information can be tracked down by having the global identifier. Also, I also want to point out that I can hit the View Permission tab and see all the permissions that I have to this document. Now, I am the author of this document, so I have all the permissions. If I classify this document as confidential, which it is, and forward it to a colleague or somebody with a different role within my organization, all of these permissions could be very different. Furthermore, these watermarks can't be changed. They're part of the document's metadata now. If I go to try to remove the watermarks, as I just did there, the watermarks don't go anywhere. So that's Word. Let's take a look at how this applies to Excel now. And here's my Excel environment. Now this time I'm going to go into the document and enter a regular expression, something that looks very much like a social security number, or the format of a social security number. This could be, again, just a text expression. This could be a medical record number format. This could be a credit card format. All of these different items could trigger automatic classification of this document. In this case, I just put in a social security number. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my documents folder. And what you see down here, and I'm going to move this up so you can see it, social security number detected. An automatic classification was applied. Again, that happened automatically. So I'm going to go ahead and save this document. And now, when I go to print this document, at the very bottom, you can have, there's a watermark that's being applied. This watermark can be tailored to your specific needs. Again, just like the Word document, to include the user, the time that the document was created, the computer that it was created on, or the global unique identifier that can be used in a DLP engine or within our administrative console to track down this document and figure out exactly how it's been used and where it's gone. So I'm going to go to our website at watchfulsoftware.com, and on our website there's a video for mobile devices. It's kind of difficult for me to show you my iPhone in this case, but I can do it very easily here. Here we're using the RightsWATCH app to compose an email on an iPhone. So I wanted to give you a sense of what that interface was like. We're composing a email global search for the user. I am able to just write it in a regular workflow, and then I will be prompted for a classification level. So here I'm going to have the same classification levels that I had in Outlook to select from on my mobile device. So I select the classification level that I want. I can populate the email, and then when I send it, the appropriate watermarks are applied and the encryption is applied before the message ever leaves the phone. And that's what end-to-end protection is all about when using RightsWATCH. Now, I want to show you really quick what it's like when you open an email on an iPhone. You can open it in your native iPhone environment, and when you do, there's going to be an attachment, and when a RightsWATCH attachment, you open the attachment, and you will see the email with the colors for the classification level. You will see also the watermark that was just applied. Also, you can have your encrypted Word, PowerPoint, Excel form documents available on the phone. You can open those encrypted documents on the phone and read them natively right here. Watermarks applied to the document, so if you were to take a screenshot of this document, you would also capture it with the watermarks. And you have your usage restrictions there, which are very easy to see what you can and cannot do with this document. So that's our iPhone interface, and of course we have an interface for Android, and we have an interface for BlackBerry. And now let's move on to the Global Protector. So what about the situation when you don't have Office documents that you're trying to protect and encrypt? We've spent a lot of time on the Microsoft Office applications, but what about those documents that are just binary files that you also need to protect? Well, we have a tool for that as well, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you. If I open this binary file folder, you will see that I have a bitmap, a JPEG, a GIF, and a test document. These are just regular, simple, binary formats. They don't have any RMS built into them. And what I'm going to show you is how to encrypt them very, very easily using RightsWATCH. I'm on my desktop here. I just right-click on the folder. I go to Classify. And then I will be presented with all the files and I can select my classification level. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Watchful Internal. These files will be classified as internal and encrypted using RMS. So if I do not have the role that provides me access to these documents, I will not be able to access them. These documents will be encrypted and protected. Any document can be encrypted and protected using RightsWATCH. And we know these files have been protected. We have the Microsoft RMS logo on the files in this folder. It's as easy as that. And that's all I have for my demo today. Please keep in mind that what I've shown you is a quick overview of our RightsWATCH client. There are many elements like our OWA interface or our SharePoint interface, or for that matter, our web-based administrative console that I didn't even begin to touch upon. So there are several classification tools out there on the market, but 5 things that make RightsWATCH unique. The first thing, our dynamic classification engine. RightsWATCH is not reliant upon the user, unlike many of the tools out there. Our auto classification engine takes the decisions out of the hands of the end users. We feature a multi-level security model with role-based access and usage. The interface is only as complex for a user as their job requires it to be. We classify data and then watermark and fingerprint it to make it easy to track. Other thing we feature is a in-workflow interface. We don't get in the way of your employees doing their job. Our dynamic policy engine will identify your sensitive data based upon content, context, or metadata. We feature customized permissions that tie into your RMS rights policy template. The other thing we have is a full BYOD support. Your company communication is protected from end to end, desktop to mobile phone and back. Your data is both easily accessible and protected on your iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry device. With the RightsWATCH app, you can read your RMS protected Word, Excel, PowerPoint presentations online or offline. We also feature a centralized console for monitoring reporting. This is the location where you can define your policy and investigate how your classified data is being used and get your audit trail for forensics, legal, audit, and compliance purposes. Finally, you've seen it extensively in this video, our support for Office 365 and, of course, Azure and AD RMS. We integrate seamlessly with Outlook, Word, and Excel, and PowerPoint, and RMS, whether it's in the cloud or on-prem. RightsWATCH is a unique and comprehensive solution. And that is all I have for you today. If you have any questions after the completion of this training, go ahead and go to info@watchfulsoftware.com. Go ahead and email your questions in there. And I'm now open for questions if you have them. Thank you very much.